Fandango! The call to Fandango is literally a call to dance and sing until the sun rises. And a Fandango can be called for almost any reason or no reason at all. We're going to talk about the Fandango and the beautiful tradition of La Rama. But first, this is Latina Literati. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos, bienvenidas, bienvenidos. The call to Fandango originates in the most Caribbean of the Mexican states, which is Veracruz. So not only in the main city of Veracruz, but also in many other of the towns, this tradition of at least 100 to 200 years old is that people would gather and would call for a celebration for whatever reason it may be. It's really interesting because the lore of Fandango is that originally only married men could play. So the instruments that are being played are string instruments like the harp and different smaller type ukuleles called jaranas or requintos, but you also have this amazing instrument called Quijada de Asno or Quijada de Burro, which means a burro or donkey's jawbone. And this is a fascinating fact. I'm going to take a moment to just talk about this beautiful instrument. It's an instrument that was brought, or at least was used by the enslaved peoples that were brought to Mexico and to Peru and to other areas of the Americas. And when one of these animals dies, they take the jawbone and place it on an anthill. And it is the ants that clean up the bones. And once the bone is clean, it is then placed in hot water. And then the sound that this jawbone makes is unlike any other because the teeth rattle. So it's a little bit like maracas, but then when you bang the side of the jaw, it's just a completely different sound. As you may recall, enslaved peoples in many areas were not allowed to use drums because it was seen as too insightful. But there is always human imagination. And the use of this instrument is now considered part of Mexican culture, and it is central to the area of Veracruz and to the tradition, the musical tradition there called son jarocho. And son jarocho, again, is something that originally only married men would play. Now, women are really part of the rebirth. There was a time when it kind of fell out of favor in the 50s and 60s, some would say, because it was seen as something of more of the working class. It wasn't seen as something that people, from the upper classes wanted. But in the end, it survived, it is thriving, and there's a whole new generation of young people who recognize what a beautiful, beautiful genre of music this is and how moving. You cannot stand still in a fandango. Whether you can zapateado or not, you are going to be moving. You're going to be clapping, you're going to be playing, you're going to be doing something. They're going to hand you an instrument, you're going to do something. So it's a very festive, very happy, it's a very energy-filled event. And I wanted to delve a little bit into its history, a little bit into the instruments, and of course, the tradition of La Rama. La Rama usually occurs between El Día de Guadalupe, which is the 12th of December, to the 24th. Those last 12 days of Christmas are when things like the posadas and the tradition of La Rama in Veracruz take place. And you decorate a rama, which means a branch, usually a big branch, with all sorts of decorations, and someone holds it, and the musicians follow, and everyone is singing with candles, And it's a very beautiful tradition, joyful tradition, and it is an example of what is called syncretism. Syncretism is when several beliefs blend. So when the invaders arrive from Europe, the indigenous that survive, their beliefs are carried down to us today through this syncretism, through this blending of traditions and beliefs. And La Rama is one of those syncretisms or syncretismos in Spanish. So again, it's a beautiful tradition. There's all sorts of music, and you go from place to place and you ask for something. So it can be something sweet, it can be a piece of fruit, it can be anything, and people open their homes or their businesses and you come in and they invite you into their place of business or their home and give you treats for singing for them. This is a wonderful, wonderful tradition, and Veracruz is a very musical place. It's a place that is very ancient in terms of indigenous roots, but because of the blend, so Caribbean, because of the enslaved peoples, because of the indigenous traditions, it's just a very rich musical place, and I wanted to share this tradition with you. In this week's video, I have no book recommendations, but I invite you to partake of the incredible traditions, the beautiful traditions, the inspiring and varied traditions of our hemisphere, of all of the different countries in Latin America. So amazing during this time of year, whether it's culinary, you know what I'm talking about, everyone loves tamales and there's so many types, to the musical traditions. And there are many, many, many different traditions. And so instead of a book recommendation, I invite you to participate in our beautiful traditions for this time of year. Thank you so much. And I would love to hear from you. What is it that you are doing during this time? What are your traditions from your particular background? We would love to hear it. We'd also love to hear what you'd like us to talk about, because we do take recommendations for videos. Thank you so much. And as always, con mucho cariño, mucho salud, mucho amor. Gracias.
Naranjas y limas, limas y limones, más linda la Virgen que todas las flores. A la buena noche ya estamos aquí está la rama que les prometí. Naranjas y limas, limas y limones, más linda la Virgen que todas las flores. Y les prometí venir a cantar, pero